All right, guys. Welcome to the first episode of the Long Island Diamond. I am here with Andrew and Vinny. We're just gonna start by introducing ourselves. I'll start with myself, and then Andrew will go, and then Vinny can end it off. Um, I'm James Corbett. I am a 19-year-old Suffolk County Community College student. I am studying criminal justice at the moment. I live in Long Island, New York, in Suffolk County. Um, I am a huge Red Sox fan. Andrew?
My name's Andrew Scarpacci. I'm 20. I'm from Hicksville, New York, also from Long Island. And I'm a junior studying sports management and communications at LAU Post. I'm currently the sports director there at the radio station and the sports editor at the campus newspaper.
All right, Ben.
Guys, good stuff. I'm Vinny. I'm from Queens. I've been a baseball fan pretty much all my life since I was born. I played baseball for 8 or 9 years or so. Definitely America's sport, and there's nothing I'd rather spend a lot of my free time talking about than baseball, for sure.
All right. Great.
I should probably mention I'm a huge Yankee fan. I've been since pretty much they won the World Series in '09. I've been before that, but that was when I started to really get into it heavily.
Yeah, too bad not many after that.
Not yet.
All right.
Always had to get the pun in there. Not even wasting any time. Going right for it. I see the first episode, first couple minutes had to already make the Yankees.
Why not? I don't even think it's been 5 minutes yet.
I mean, why else would we be
I like
here?
it.
It wasn't going to be like a 2-on-1 like tandem offense against the Yankee fan.
Yeah, why not?
I fuck with it.
Especially since I don't hate the Mets. So I actually, before I was a Red Sox fan, I was a Met fan.
Yeah.
So
What happened?
the Wilpons.
All right.
The Wilpons.
So I'll say this: I'm a fan of many sports. I can tolerate pretty much every New York team. Like I'm a Rangers fan, but I'm from Long Island, so I respect the Islanders. Knicks and Nets, I rock with them both. Jets and Giants, they're not my favorites, but I rock with them both. The Mets are the only New York team that I cannot stand. They're the only New York team I won't root for. If they're in the playoffs, the Yankees aren't. Still not rooting for them. Any other New York team, I would.
I just don't understand. I just don't understand.
Well, let me put it this way. I'm basically strictly a baseball fan. I don't really like any other sports. I mean, I'll watch football here and there. Typically, the Super Bowl is the only thing that I really will watch. But you can find me at least when baseball season is going on, all the way up until the last World Series game. So from game one to game whatever the World Series would be, you can almost catch me every single time watching a baseball game, even during the off season, watching highlights, watching baseball clips, watching special plays, watching Tatis hitting moonshots, stuff like that.
Yeah.
You can almost
Yeah.
catch me watching that every single time you see me on YouTube or ESPN. I very rarely will throw on a football highlight. The only time I will is if Bleacher Report throws up their notification about Tom Brady throwing another 30-yard pass for a touchdown, that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, listen, baseball is America's sport, man. Baseball is America's sport, and baseball is underrated for a reason. And I'll tell you why.
I agree.
When you think of sports, in America, you think of baseball, right? That's the first thing that comes to my head. Baseball. Baseball is always number one for some reason. Like, give me a list of 10 sports. Baseball, blah, 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 blah. It's always baseball. But it's underrated because a lot of people don't give these guys credit. I think, like, you have to be in peak physical condition to really be the best all-around baseball player. And not even on your, in the league or on your team, these guys need to be flexible, they need to be fast, they need to be strong, and they need to have IQ. They need to have a good understanding of fundamentals of the sport.
Yeah.
More so than most other sports, in my honest opinion. That's just me. I think these guys, the peak baseball player is a phenomenal all-around athlete that can do anything. Strong, fast, flexible, and smart. And that's why baseball's underrated. That's why baseball's underrated.
Yeah, so I'm a huge sports fan of all sports, but baseball will always be a number one, obviously, for me. I played it for almost 10 years, all the way up to the varsity level. And even though I wasn't good enough to play at the Division I level where I go to school now, I still work with the team there. I've done a lot of synergy stuff for them. These are certain programs where like we clock certain things and we record things, and I help the coaches out just getting a game plan going. I've done that over a little bit over my past few years at LIU. So I enjoy the sport very much. And what I will say about baseball, it's one of the only sports where just being a natural athlete doesn't make you good at it. You have to be a very good baseball player to be a good baseball player. Like any athlete can probably pick up a football, pick up a basketball, start shooting around, throwing it. And I mean, you obviously can't play it at an elite level without playing it 24/7, but I feel like anybody like can pick it up and have fun with it. Baseball, you can't do that unless you're a baseball player.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You can learn to throw. You can be strong. You can be fast. You can be a running back, right? You can be strong. You can be a defensive end. You know what I mean?
Like take Giannis. Take Giannis, huge, amazing athlete, probably one of the best in the world. Now he went to a Brewers training camp. He went in the cages, and he looked like a buffoon out
Oh
there
my God.
in the cages. He could not hit, and he is probably one of the greatest athletes in the world. Two-time MVP, NBA champ. He looked like an idiot out there trying to hit a baseball, and that is where baseball differs from other sports.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, I
absolutely.
think me and Vinny both totally agree with you on that.
No doubt. No doubt. I don't think these guys.
Vin's starting to cut out.
If we have to cut some
Yeah,
stuff out to where we go back in, that's fine.
No, it's fine. We'll
you
just
guys
leave
hear
the
me?
podcast how it is. If somebody
Yeah.
freezes out, somebody freezes out. It won't be that big of a deal.
But I'd say at this point, let's just get back
You guys
into our
hear me?
topics.
Yeah.
You
Let's
hear
get
me?
right into it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
go
yeah,
on, Vin.
you're good now.
We can
You're
hear
good.
you.
All right. Go for it, James.
Oh yeah. All right. So we'll go straight into it. So basically, right now we have five main topics that we're going to be talking about. I guess a little subtopics here and there in between all of the regular topics. But so for the first topic, we have the lockout. The second topic, we have free agency. The third one, we're going to talk about each of our fan bases. Fourth is hot topics, and then the fifth is going to be the Hall of Fame. Who we think deserves it, who we think doesn't deserve it, who we think deserves it on the first year of the ballot, and certain things like that. Um, I don't know about you guys, but I really don't care about steroid users being in the Hall of Fame. I'm pretty sure Vinny doesn't agree with that, but that's all right.
Cup of tea,
We'll
but,
find out at the end.
I mean,
Yeah.
like you said, I mean, I guess baseball as a sport overall, all the political side of baseball, but it really shouldn't be a political issue, but it is what it is. I think that there are guys who go out there and really do their thing, and I know the Barry Bonds argument isn't really a good argument, right? Because not many guys could steal bases and hit dingers like Barry Bonds could. Not many guys could do what Barry Bonds did, steroids or not. So it's not really a good argument. It's not even like a viable argument. I'm not even going to get into that. You know what I mean? But he's just the prime example. I'm sure the list goes on and on and on.
Oh, the
You know,
list goes on
these
and
guys.
on and
Yeah, we could be here for a long time. It's not
Now, that's also why I think that people from that era really shouldn't be held. Obviously, everyone should take the consequences of what they do, but I think baseball wanted that at the time. It gave baseball more of an impact. That was when the NFL and NBA really started to take over the ratings. So the MLB really did let it slide. So that's specifically why players from that era, I'm not going to blame them for what they did, because it really did create a lot of hype around baseball when Sosa, Bonds were going for the home run records year after year. And so that's why I think, it's a little bit different now because MLB is holding people accountable. They've been for about 10 years now. We've seen it with A-Rod, Braun, etc. But there's a certain thing about those late 90s, early 2000s players, after the strike, that they really shouldn't be held the same way because they helped baseball get back from when baseball was down. So that's why I'm not going to hold them to the same standard as if it was today. And that's why I think they should be in the Hall of Fame. And I'll talk about the specific players at the end about who I chose and why.
Yeah. Well, I know for me, we'll get to it towards the end, but I already have my list of 10 people that are on the ballot as of right now who should make it. and people who are on the ballot wrote down, like who I have given,
Yeah.
if I was a writer, a write down. Well, we could talk about the lockout now. I mean, obviously, it's the 2nd of January. It's 2022. Baseball season starts in 2 months, basically, for baseball players at least. Not for us as fans. We don't get to start watching until early March at the earliest. But for baseball players, baseball season starts at the end of February. This is when they start heading back to camp and start doing stuff. This is pitchers and catchers reporting. This is when they leave their families yet again to do their career. And in 2 months, it might not be the case. And I think that it might help some teams and it might struggle other teams as well. It might give us a delayed season. It might give us it might keep us with a regular season. I don't know. All I heard was strike. The MLB Players Association and the MLB itself have only talked once. That's it.
Well, from what I've heard, they've been saying they weren't going to start talks until after the new year. So January 2nd today, it's all the news really isn't going to come out till probably later on this week about what's happening at all. But I will say this, after the shortened COVID season, obviously we had another season after that, but both team owners and players, everybody wants to compete. Everyone wants to play. Everyone wants to make their money. I can't imagine they're going to delay their season. If they do, that will be not a good look on the MLB. And I feel like the MLB differs from a lot of the other leagues for this reason. When the CBAs are up and when things are going down, you see a lot of times that things get better in the end for the other leagues. I feel like MLB, it's the only one where it's routine drama over and over. We rarely see lockouts and turn into shortened seasons. We saw it with the NHL back in like 2011 and stuff, but it really doesn't happen that much. So they've got 3 months to figure it out. I think they'll do it. If not, it's really not going to be a good situation. MLB during COVID, they could have been one of the first sports back, and they almost weren't because of these kind of debate arguments over money, and it was a really bad look. And so with the MLB, it just seems like it's over and over again. And so we have to hope that that does not happen.
Absolutely.
To me, it's just not worth it. I mean, you have people who do anything to see their favorite teams play. Like from game one to game 162, you have people who would give absolutely anything to see their favorite teams play. And then to me, especially with the issue being, we know what the issues are, financials, whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it's just not worth it, especially to fans, especially to somebody who, for me, like I've said, I've watched baseball since the day I was born. I rooted for the same team since the day I was born. And like you said, you love baseball, right? It goes further than rooting for your favorite team. And to think about the market this year, the market is hot right now. The market is loaded. It's
Mm-hmm.
unbelievable. I haven't been too I haven't been paying too much attention to the actual the markets for agency over the past couple of years, but this year I've specifically been paying extra attention to it, and it is just much more electric than it has been in a very, very long time, in my personal opinion. So it sucks that maybe the worst possible time for them to do this is right now. It's very sad to see, and it, especially when the issues are financials, it gets very frustrating for people like the three of us who just want to watch what we love. Other than that, I really
Yeah.
don't even know where to go from there. To be honest,
We saw it with the NFL. So they knew when their CBA was up, and so they had most of their negotiations done even before the deadline was. So by the time the negotiations actually had to start, they already had an idea of what both sides wanted.
Yeah.
It seems like MLB, it's like nobody talked, and now it's like, oh shit, what now? And it's like with the NFL, they moved it from 16 games to 17 games. That was this year. And that's something that fans love. Players, some players liked it, some players didn't, but the owners love it. They get more money from it. The players, they get more playing time, so they can pad their stats a bit more from it. So, and obviously the fans love it, gives them an extra game. And so it was something that all sides really loved. And with the MLB, it just seems like they're all over the place. Anytime something new comes up, that it was expected. Like it wasn't a secret when the CBA was up, but it seems like nobody had any idea what either side wanted. So it's like, okay, we'll just cancel everything until we want to come back to talk about what's going on.
That really is
You know,
a shame.
obviously we see memes about it all the time about how the anyone who works for a team can't talk to any players, and so obviously, like apparently Zach Britton's brother is a manager of a AAA team, and so he can't talk to his brother. So, oh, I wonder what Christmas dinner was like. No, obviously we see the memes like that all the time because, and then Buck Showalter, new manager of the Mets, you probably have something to say about that, but he was on the Michael Kay show because obviously him and Michael Kay, they've worked with the Yes Network together, and Michael Kay's worked with the Yankees a long time when Showalter was the manager there, so they've known each other for decades on decades. So the first interview he got when he became manager was with the Michael Kay show, and Michael Kay said, well, what's the first thing you're going to do? And he goes, well, I want to talk to my players, but yeah, I can't. So it's like obviously there's going to be memes about it, but it's pretty serious though. Like obviously, I don't think anyone's going to fine but Zach Britton's brother for talking to Britton, unless Britton goes up to him and says, "Hey, you hear of anything going on?" But I don't think a manager of a AAA team is that high up to where they're getting the top secrets of what the owners and the executives want anyway. Obviously, it's more on paper. You can't talk to anybody, but I'm pretty sure within reason, there's obviously people talking to each other about nothing going on, even with the league. And if they are, it's not like the people they're talking to know anything anyway, unless you're at the top.
And to see like the players take a part of like in this comic relief kind of, and to see them actually like really making light of the situation and like they're making jokes and changing their profile pictures and really like interacting and partaking in these little gags. It to me it's hysterical. I love it. It's almost like a direct shot at the higher ups. That
It makes us think that we're going to get baseball on time.
That makes baseball fun to me.
Yep.
I love it.
Because like if you go on the MLB app and look up any player, it's just the plain like gray icon for the person.
Yeah.
And then the players made that their Twitter profile pics. And obviously that's funny. Now, if it was serious to the extent of there might not be baseball, they probably wouldn't be doing that. They'd probably be talking a lot more publicly about it. But yeah, as of right now, I would have to imagine there's going to be baseball in March, spring training, opening day on time.
Yeah.
If there's not, well, then we got problems.
All I can do is that all I do is like I just hope that there is, especially seeing that baseball is the only sport that I do watch. It's the only sport that I watch, and it kind of sucks because I can't even if I can't like watch the Red Sox like even if I can watch the Red Sox it's almost hard to watch the Red Sox in person. I've only been to Fenway twice, and I'm 19. The reason why is because obviously I live across the Long Island Sound. We live across the Long Island Sound from Boston. I mean, I know this summer I'm planning a trip, if there is a baseball season, to Boston with my girlfriend. But it's hard. It's almost hard to watch the Red Sox. So I only get to watch them on TV. I only get to watch them on TV. So if the reason why they're holding back a season is because the owners don't want to give more money, or the players don't want to work more for their money, certain things like that, then honestly, as a fan, that's kind of like heartbreaking. It's almost legit heartbreaking to hear because, like Vinny said, as us fans, we just want to watch a team that we love. We want to watch a team that we love compete day in, day out, 162 times a year. But we don't get to do that with some teams. And I mean, I know this is, strictly like just our three teams. But if you get for an inference, like the Baltimore Orioles, the last time they were in the playoffs was 2016, correct? I think the wild card in 2016.
Uh-huh.
And then, since then, I don't think they've won more than 75 games in a season.
Yeah.
They just tank. That's what they do. They tank to get better draft picks. And in these new negotiations, I personally believe that they need to find a way to fix that. I think tanking needs to leave baseball. And in order to do that, I think the best team, the World Series winner, gets the number one spot. And
so
a lot of people will not like really agree with me on that. A lot of people don't. A lot of people think that, oh, you need to like, level out the playing field. Some teams have, higher some people have a higher payroll. Some teams have higher payrolls, which, tends to lean them in the direction of being a better team. Because
Yeah.
teams like the Red Sox, the Yankees, and the Mets are all in the top 10 for payrolls in baseball, especially the Mets now, seeing after they signed their bunch of free agents before the lockout. So that kind of brings them on the path of playoffness. Like it brings them on the path of competing again, the Mets. And that's something we haven't seen since 2015. Almost
Yeah.
something like the Orioles, but they didn't purposely tank. So at least the Mets put a team on the field to at least show somewhat. I mean, as much as the Wilpons pissed every Met fan off, and I mean every Met fan off, me leaving the Mets fan base because of the Wilpons. It was legitimately the Wilpons that made me leave the Mets fan base. Like I I will always have a love for the Mets, and I'm glad that the Mets got rid of the Wilpons and Steve Cohen bought the team, and he's actually putting money in to this team to make them compete like they're the 2015 Mets again, or better yet, the 1986 Mets to bring them to the World Series. I'm truly happy for them, but it won't change me back to the Mets. I love my Red Sox. I love them to death. So I think that these negotiations need to hurry up quickly, as fast as possible, and give both sides what they want without tearing each other apart in however many years the CBA is over.
I think going back to what you're saying about the draft picks, I don't completely understand it for this reason. Not you, but the persona in general. So this isn't like the NFL or NBA where the worst team can draft the best college player and they're on the starting lineup the next year, starting roster the next year, and now a terrible team can go to a 500 team with one player. Minimally 3 to 5 years in the minors is what it's going to take. Round one pick, round 30 pick to get to the majors, if anything. And unlike other sports, high school baseball is much more different from the MLB is than NCAA FBS football is to the NFL.
Mm.
That's why the Bengals can draft Joe Burrow and 2 years later they win their division. That will not happen in the MLB. So it doesn't make sense to me why a team would tank to get the first pick when the difference between the round one number one pick and the round one number 12 pick, you have no idea what either of them are going to be in 3 years. And baseball is the sport where you have no idea what the draft picks are going to be. Now, obviously, the first couple picks of the first round, whether they're high school or college players, are likely to make the majors, but they're not that immediate stardom that you're going to get by drafting a quarterback, the Heisman Trophy winning quarterback, or the top collegiate college player in the NBA who now is the team starting point guard. Like it doesn't happen in the MLB. So I don't understand why this whole tank for these players, because you have no idea who's going to be good from 1 year to the next. Baseball is so much different at every level than the other sports are.
I can give.
There's no Trevor Lawrence in the MLB, right?
I can give a great answer to that. The reason why teams do tank like the Orioles is because the owner does not care about his team. That's the truth. Because like you said, you never know how these players are going to be 5 years down the line. Some teams get lucky. They get a Juan Soto. They get a Juan Soto. They get Aaron Judge. They get Mookie Betts. They get these players that once they step up into the majors, they make the impact that they thought they were going to make. But the Orioles, like the Orioles owner, he doesn't care about his team. So instead of him wanting a World Series, wanting fans to come to his park, yeah, in the long run, would it make him more money? Absolutely, it would. But he'd also have to spend more money. And I don't think he wants to open up the checkbook to do so. So instead, he just makes the money that he can off of the team while not producing, the team that the Orioles fan base wants. So instead of seeing the Orioles compete almost every year. Obviously, not every team is going to compete every single year, but to see a team compete every 2 years, every 3 years, instead of practically at this point every 5 years. And before that, it was many, many years before that that the Orioles were competing. Instead of seeing them compete and possibly be a World Series winner, at least be a World Series contender, he goes, "I'll make my money while I can. I'm not doing any harm to myself. I'm still making money. Who cares?"
I mean, I haven't seen the Mariners in the playoffs practically in my lifetime, in
Yeah.
any of our lifetimes.
My lifetime. I was born in 2002. The last time they made the playoffs was 2001.
No, but I think the Mariners. I think the culture over there is changing a little bit. I think they in 2021 they went from being very very quiet. They had a Gold Glove shortstop in 2020, and they have a and
Their
they have
franchise player just retired.
yeah.
Kyle Seager just
That's a
retired.
good point too. But
Yeah.
they don't have a terrible lineup. I mean, if you look at these guys and talk to them based off batting average, I mean they have the to me, Mitch Haniger is one of my favorite players in baseball. I don't know. There's just something about it. Ty France, one of my favorite, probably my favorite first baseman in baseball. One of my favorite players in baseball as well. The
Not Pete
Mariners
Alonso?
just
Yeah,
fine.
I was gonna say Pete Alonso
Relax,
better be the
relax, relax. You know, I like the Mariners. They went from a very quiet team in the American League that nobody really cared about to like the underdogs that teams on that fans on the East Coast were rooting for, especially considering you had teams like the Red Sox and the Yankees fighting to even make the playoffs with the Mariners. And offense to you guys, but when you have the Mariners fighting the Red Sox and the Yankees for a playoff spot, somebody like me, I mean, you're going to push for Seattle. And the way their culture is just changing over there. But take another team for example. What about the Diamondbacks? Right? When the Diamondbacks won a World Series in the early 21st century, what year was that?
2001.
2001.
They won
Andrew
the
remembers
World
that
Series.
very. No, actually, he doesn't remember that. He wasn't old enough, but Andrew knows about that very well.
If
But
there was one World Series that I could take back, like that was the year I was born. I was born in 01. I was like 4 months old when it happened. Now that was the year of 9/11 and everything. So
Yeah,
again, going back historically, that was the one year that it would have been best for the Yankees to win.
yeah.
But they won 3 years before that. So like the last 3 years before that.
yeah.
So they were bound to lose eventually at that
No,
point.
we're the Diamondbacks. Well, the Diamondbacks are in the same division as the Dodgers, in the same division as the Giants. The Dodgers, and let's be honest, the Dodgers, the Astros, maybe the Yankees have been the only couple of teams that have really been consistent contenders for the past 4 or 5 years. Would you say?
The Red Sox.
Yeah, the Red Sox too.
They won
I
the
guess.
division. They won the division in
Yeah.
16, 17, 18. Played like shit in 19 and 20, and then made it to the championship series in
Yeah,
this year.
for the most part. Yeah.
Yeah, the AL Central's been very back and forth. Like the Royals and Tigers were better at the beginning of the decade, then towards the end of the decade, it became
Yeah,
the Twins and Cleveland, and now the White Sox are coming out of nowhere. Now they're kind of the big dogs in that division. So I mean, it's the AL Central's kind of been all over the place, but yeah, AL East. I mean, it's probably been fairly consistent. Not consistent in terms of the teams that are the best, but you know who is going to be the best kind of year to year.
yep.
And like, yeah, you have like obviously like yeah the Red Sox had their stretches in the beginning and then obviously they are competing now but they were back and forth for a while. Yankees are always either top 1, 2, or 3. Toronto had a really good stretch in the middle of the decade. They're starting to come back now after losing some pieces. They're starting to get their young guys back. Tampa they were great in the beginning, had stretch of bad years. Now they're kind of back in it. So I mean kind of I would say the AL has been more all over the place than the NL. It's obviously Dodgers
And more
Dodgers,
Dodgers.
Dodgers,
Yeah.
Dodgers, 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 Dodgers,
And that makes
Dodgers.
me sick. And that makes me sick. We could talk about the Dodgers,
And then the
but
National League East: Braves, 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 Braves,
well,
Braves, 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 Braves.
kinda.
Having flashbacks of the 1990s: Braves, 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 Braves,
Yeah.
Braves.
I mean, a message conveyed. Yeah. Um, And I rooted for the Braves in the World Series. By
I
the way.
mean, the Nationals just won the World Series 2 years ago.
I rooted for the Astros.
No,
I
I
was
like.
rooting for the
I
Nationals
don't
the whole way.
dislike the Astros
Yeah.
whatsoever. I don't dislike the Astros at all. So I don't blame you whatsoever. But I did root for the
Well, that was
Braves.
before the news came out. So I mean, I would imagine you were rooting for the Astros that year over the Nationals because that was before the news came out.
You're talking about me.
Yeah, 2019.
I didn't think the Nationals should have made the playoffs that year. I didn't like the Nationals. I didn't think they were a playoff team in 2000. I didn't think they went to that. And then when I heard that, when I saw them win the World Series, I'm like, this can't be happening. There's just no way. They weren't even a playoff team in my eyes.
They had
against a great team, a phenomenal team. The Astros, the best team in baseball in the past 5 years overall. I'm not saying
Yeah, I would say.
I'm saying generally speaking, when it comes to pure talent and performance and reception.
I would say Dodgers won, Astros 2.
Okay, fair enough. But top two, one way or another. But James, so what do you? So you want to talk about the Nationals? Sure, let's talk about the Nationals. You mentioned teams tanking, right? So what about a complete rebuild, a complete roster?
That's a tank. No.
That's a tank. So
Here's the thing. I'm okay with with a roster rebuild as long as you are committed to the fact that next year you're going to be putting money into this team to at least have them compete for a second or third place finish in your division, not tank to get the best draft picks at the very end.
So that's another thing going back to the draft picks versus the other sports. You know where the best players are coming from. They're juniors and seniors at the NCAA highest Division I collegiate level. And the MLB, they're international free agent signings from all over the world. Nowadays, the best players, they're more so coming out of Dominican Republic, Venezuela, Cuba, and being signed at 16, 17, 18, not drafted out of high school or college. And so obviously there are top players now, but it's more predictable when you sign someone from Latin America than when you draft someone out of college or high school. So that's why this whole tanking thing, I mean, I would rather trade for international bonus pool money. It's going to get you faster. It's going to get you where you want faster than trying to tank for the top draft pick year after year.
I mean, I think for what the Mets have just decided to do, I don't know if you guys got the news. I'm sure Vinny did, but the Mets are trying to pull what the Nationals are doing by signing a Soto. They just signed Juan Soto's little brother.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys know that.
Absolutely.
I think they're betting on him to be a Juan Soto. I mean, not come out in his 19-year-old season and almost win Rookie of the Year. I mean, he might come out in his 21-year-old season and win Rookie of the Year, but I think they're betting on him to be the Juan Soto of the New York Mets instead of the Juan Soto of the Nationals. I think instead of giving the Nationals or even any other team in the league a chance to sign this guy who is the brother of a phenomenal baseball player. I don't know if you guys agree with me, but a top 5 baseball player in baseball right now. Juan Soto is top 5.
Yeah.
The least top 10. He's, in my eyes, top 5, least top 10. And to get a guy who lived with this top 5 baseball player, practiced with this top 5 baseball player, knows how this top 5 baseball player played his practically all childhood life, that I think they're betting on him filling the shoes of Juan Soto.
Is he an outfielder too?
Hmm?
Is he an outfielder as well?
Couldn't hear you.
Juan Soto's brother is an outfielder.
I actually don't know. All I know is that it's Juan Soto's brother.
That's all we need to know, really. I mean, some things are genetic. I mean, what can I say? I don't know. I mean, you grow up around the average baseball player, you can become the average baseball player. Juan Soto is not the average baseball player.
No, he's
so
not.
If you grow up with Juan Soto, I understand exactly what you're saying. Yeah.
Juan Soto has what I like to call the Ken Griffey Jr. swing. It's the sweetest swing you can almost see in your lifetime. Juan Soto's swing might be stiff. If you guys actually pay attention to it, I don't know if you guys really have paid attention to Juan Soto's swing, but Juan Soto's swing looks a little stiff, but at the very end of it, when that ball leaves the bat, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's not Ken Griffey Jr.'s swing, but it's Juan Soto's swing, and it works, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, I think he's great. I would personally want Bryce Harper on my team, and I like Juan Soto a lot more than I like Bryce Harper. If I had a chance to shake one of their hands, I'd probably shake Juan Soto's. But I would prefer Bryce Harper on my team. I like his swing more than I like Juan Soto's. I think it's much more explosive. When either of them step up to the plate, you have your classic, oh shit,
He's up to bat.
heads up. Everyone in the stadium has the oh shit, timeout, heads up moment when they both have a bat. More so Soto. More so Soto, I think. But, I mean, the three teams in the National League East have arguably the one single best outfielder in baseball with Acuna, Harper, and Soto. But I would prefer to have Bryce Harper on my team. That's just me personally. I don't know about you guys, but
I mean, he is the 2021 National League MVP, so it's kind of hard to argue that as much. I do think that Juan Soto is better.
I think Acuna's the best of all three.
wow.
Yeah.
So we're all different here.
Listen. You know what? No, you're not, because I think Acuna is better than Soto. I think Acuna is better than Soto. Here, Acuna is a better base runner. He's a better fielder. He has a stronger arm. I don't think he has the contact like Soto and the eye and the discipline as Soto, but I think he has the same amount of power as Soto in that bat too. So when you kind of beat the guy in like three other categories and then win and then tie in the fifth, Acuna's better. Acuna is just all around a better player. Soto might be a better hitter, but all around a player,
I get that.
definitely the better.
I get that for sure.
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth there. I think better base runner, gets more steals, better fielder, more versatile, better arm. Better all around in the field on the bases and even hitting. I think he's a slightly better hitter as well. Soto kind of has more flair, but I think Acuna's better.
Yep.
And roughly the same amount of power, but they'll hit for roughly the same average. Acuna will have a higher OPS, I think, year after year more consistently than Soto does. He strikes out less.
Mm.
Really?
So I would take Acuna.
These strikeout guys nowadays. Like if you look at somebody like Soto, these strikeout guys. You guys know how I am. You guys know how I am when it comes to baseball. I like speed, and the three true outcomes players are probably some of my least favorite players in the sport. The three true outcomes.
Literally,
so when you look at somebody like how Juan Soto's what,
Joey
22
Gallo.
now?
Yeah, Joey Gallo for sure.
Joey Gallo,
I think
I'll give you
so.
Joey Gallo.
Going back to what you're saying about the strikeout thing. So people are saying about how like back in the day, like players had almost the same amount of home runs as strikeouts. Like Ty Cobb never struck out. But I think it's a little different nowadays because back then the best fielders had 60 errors a season. Now the best fielders have 8 to 10 errors a season.
Yeah.
So a ground ball versus a strikeout with nobody on base makes no difference. The fielders nowadays are too good. So I think it's better to focus on the extra base hits and the OPS and the slugging percentage than it is to put the ball in play. Now little league, even at the high school level, put the ball in play, put the ball in play.
Yeah.
Yes, because errors happen a lot more. Putting the ball in play makes much more of a difference at a lower level and 100 years ago than it does today.
Yep.
So with the whole, Aaron Judge strikes out too much, Stanton strikes out too much. Okay, I don't care if he strikes out 200 times if he hits 40 home runs because that's going to give more run differential in the end. Who cares if somebody has a million ground outs, but nobody on base, it doesn't matter. And with somebody on first, I'd rather a strikeout, no double play.
To an extent, yeah, but you have to. It's not just like the error factor. If there is second and third and one out, for example, something as simple as a ground ball to second base could get a run home. It's not that I think this guy's gonna pull a Buckner. I'm not saying that. I don't see it like that.
Obviously timing is everything, but I'm saying the general play, like getting a single with 2 outs and nobody on versus getting a home run. I mean, I'd rather go for the home run and take the strikeout if it happens and get a single because you're probably not going to score anyway.
Well, obviously, of course, but then you look at somebody like Kyle Seager, for example. What did he hit? 210. He hit 210 last year. He had 101 RBIs. like you're saying, I'm agreeing with you. I mean,
That's why I don't think that. I think batting average is overrated. I look at
Batting
OPS.
average is terrible.
OPS is, I
personally
think,
I like
yeah.
batting average. Batting average is a great stat to me. There's many more important stats. There's many more important stats, but RBI is king to me. RBI, OPS, stuff like that. But I do look at batting average a lot, especially in the early 2000s, mid 2000s era, a decade ago. It was much more important to me personally because different players have different roles. You're not going to look at Giancarlo Stanton's batting average and judge whether or not you're going to sign him, right? Judge whether or not you're going to bench him. It's not based off of his batting average.
Not
It's based
anymore.
off of if he's hitting the ball on the barrel, it's either going 450 feet, right? Or he's striking out, or it doesn't matter. But you're not going to look at Giancarlo Stanton's batting average and say, you're benched. You're just not going to do that, right?
Well,
And
even
that's why
Judge has a 290 average. Like Judge is a high average guy, but I get what you're
Judge,
saying. Yeah. The whole
sure,
point stands. Yeah.
Judge is a probably top 5 MVP guy for the next couple of years, in my opinion. Judge is a
As
great
long as he
player.
stays healthy.
He's a
Oh
great,
yeah.
yeah, which he usually does. I mean, he only had that
No,
No.
he plays about 120 games a year.
Here's
His
here's
last
the
couple
issue with
seasons, he gets
Judge.
hurt a
he
lot.
had one year where he didn't.
Here's the issue with Judge, and a lot of people don't realize this. Like the casual baseball fan will not realize this. There's a difference between being injury prone and getting injured a lot. There's a difference between that. Because a lot of the injuries that Judge had, like for example, when he got hit on the wrist, that's not his fault.
Yeah.
The person hit him when he was at bat. I mean, what would you rather the person would you rather him get hit in like the head or the wrist? Like you're gonna choose the wrist. So if he breaks his wrist, there's really no way that you could just like say, oh, he's injury prone. Like I get when you say he's running and he goes to make a sliding catch and
Yeah.
he hurts his what was it his abdominal whatever. I think Andrew will know
Well,
this.
it's because he's really tall, so he gets a lot of those
Yeah,
hamstring and like leg injuries that pull because he has very long strides because of his height
I just
and the amount of weight that he's carrying. Not because he's fat by any means, but because he's so massive overall. He has a lot of upper body strength and he takes it with him on every step.
yeah. It just it's something that casual fans will never realize is the fact that that like there's a like I said before, there's a difference between being injury prone and just getting injured a lot. Like
Yeah.
it's not his fault that he took a fastball to the wrist. Like that's not it. Like are you going to blame Stanton for getting taken out of the 2016 season? I think it was for getting that ball to the face. Like you're not going to blame him for that. Mike
Yeah.
fires through a changeup and hit him right directly in the jaw.
I understand that. Yeah. No, I mean, sure. Who's injury prone to you? Like Byron Buxton, Brandon Nimmo.
Byron Buxton, Brandon Nimmo, those are just two that come straight to mind. Eduardo Nunez, when he was a Red Sox, he was very injury prone. There's a lot of people that are like that. Miguel Andujar, he's injury prone. I give him that. I give him the injury prone hand. I'd say in the earlier days, like not when Anthony Rizzo was in the minor leagues with cancer, because that's not his fault. But when he was in the major leagues, he was a little injury prone in the early stages of his life, which is weird because like as he got older, he got less injury prone, which doesn't really make sense. Like, I mean, like
Maybe he got stronger, more fit, more flexible.
well, yeah, but like the older you get, the more your body like will break. So, it kind of was like a little weird. I think we lost Andrew.
Yeah, me too.
It just stuck right on his
It is
face.
what it is. He's staring at me weird right now, all frozen, so making me uncomfortable. But I don't get these guys. I always had this question. You are a professional athlete. You are a professional athlete. You do this shit for a living. You get paid so much money to do this, and you swing a bat and you tear a muscle in your body and you miss a month. Is it just me? I mean, these guys run to first. But Jeff McNeil, I think I'm wearing
Yeah, you're wearing your
One of my favorite players. One of my favorite players on the Mets. I love McNeil. I hope they don't trade him. He had one bad year. Get over it. Suck it up.
Mhm.
I love McNeil. I love McNeil. But
We got Andrew back.
a ground ball. A ground ball
My
is short.
laptop died.
Oh,
It's only my second time ever using it, so I didn't anticipate like what the the kind of battery life would be.
yeah, no, it's all right.
Rookie move, Andrew.
So we got him on his cell
Yeah.
phone.
Yeah, we got him on the cell
Got to
phone.
make it work. Always got to make it
All
work.
right, yeah, no problem.
For first episode technical difficulties, we'll have it figured out by next time.
Jeff McNeil, right? It's a ground ball to shortstop, slow ground ball to shortstop. Jeff McNeil has some speed. He's not that slow. He can beat it out, right? You would think. Hustles down the line, hustles down the first base. These guys, they run, they hustle. McNeil is right? Gets the first. The ball is a couple inches from the first baseman's glove, so he has to take a very, very large stride to touch first before the ball hits the first baseman's glove. And the umpire is looking at the base
Yep.
to see if he hears pop or if he hears first base bag first, right? McNeil takes a long, like he's playing hopscotch. Like he's Super McNeil, flying through the air just to touch first base to save himself a step, and he lands on first. Pop goes the hammy, whatever it is. I don't know. Boom. Things like this are the most like preventable thing. They just shouldn't be happening to major league athletes. Am I the only one that is so bothered by when that happens? Francisco Lindor.
It depends on what the injury is. I don't know about you guys, but I have really hurt my hamstring in the past.
Yeah.
And when you hurt it,
Yeah.
yeah, that's not like something you just like walk off. It's not something that takes about like 2 weeks on the IL in order to come back and finish the remainder of the season. This is something that you have to, in some cases, rehab. Sometimes you have to rehab your hamstring. If it pops, if it tears completely, if it tears, that is something you definitely have to rehab, because once it's torn, there's no way you're putting any pressure on your leg. There's just no way.
I get it.
Like listen, I get it. This guy, he swings the bat and he he complains about like his rib cage being sore.
Yeah.
Like something like that. All right, suck it up, walk it off. Take 2 days on the IL. Take a trip to your house, say hi to your family for a day or two. I don't care what you do. Just at the end of the week, come back, start your position all over again, and get back on the field and do what you're paid to do.
Of course.
But, pulling your hamstring, that's a different story.
Sometimes you gotta think these guys are just making too much money to play 60 games and then swing the bat the wrong way. Make every dollar that you make is because you swing that bat. Every dollar that you make is because you swing that bat. That's where you get your money from.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's you're hitting dingers or you're hitting gappers or whether maybe you're a Gold Glove shortstop, who knows? But chances are you're making tens of $millions a year. It's because you can swing that bat and you swing it well. Or you're one of the best overall players in baseball. You swing that bat. And every time you swing that damn bat, you pop something, pull something, break something, you can't play for a quarter of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Is it me? What do I know? I'm a baseball fan. Like, what do I know? But
I think some injuries
you're doing something very wrong.
I think some injuries are definitely preventable, just depending on how you take care of yourself, and then others, there are freak accidents, like you said, getting hit in the wrist. But outside of that, I think there are certain things that even if you prepare and condition the perfect way for everything, certain things will just snap. Like
I get it.
There were times where things just happen. Like I personally have no flexibility, so I've broken a lot of things just by twisting something the wrong way. Like I'm very dense, so I can take huge hits, get knocked down, but the moment something tweaks the wrong way, I'm done and I'm out.
Yep.
So I think everybody's body is just different, but when you get to a certain level, you have to condition yourself for all the variables.
Look at Marcus Stroman, peak athlete. His recovery, whatever these guys call it, like I'm in great shape. I don't really know the terminology, but when they recover, they they stretch and they. Marcus Stroman is a perfect example. I don't know if you follow him on social media. He's a perfect example of somebody who is in peak.
Also a very great musician.
Marcus Stroman.
Yeah, he's a rapper. He's done music with Mike Stud, who's like a rapper producer.
No way. He has music
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. Like if you go on Apple Music, you can find Marcus Stroman songs.
The guy does it all. What are you going to say?
I know that.
Gold Glove pitcher, in my opinion, wasn't a finalist, but what are you going to do? It's MLB. Can't expect much from that. I mean, personally, Gold Glove pitcher, in my opinion, peak athlete, peak athlete. I mean, is it what you do off the field that affects you on the field when you're doing your job?
Sometimes, yeah. I mean, this is a very, I'd say, drastic thing to say about what you do off the field is what affects you on the field. But for example, I mean, we saw this in 2016, I believe, Jose Fernandez.
Yeah.
He decided to get high on drugs and take his boat out for a spin, and he crashed it.
Yeah.
He killed 2 guys in the process while killing himself. He was looking like he looked like he was going to win the Cy Young the next 5 years.
Yeah.
Jose Fernandez. And not only that, he was the pitcher that people see DeGrom as right now.
I agree.
DeGrom is that fiery pitcher that throws the crazy fast fastball that has that wicked break to it. And then he has that slider that just, it's even hard to describe what DeGrom's slider does, but it's just that cut through the zone that it does. And that's exactly what Jose Fernandez had at a younger age than DeGrom got at his age now. And that's what was scary about Jose Fernandez stepping into the league. And the fact that he did something off the field, yeah, it's drastic. Not every single player is getting high and going on their boat and crashing it, but it's what he did off the field that affected his on the field play.
Of course.
Going back to DeGrom, I think this is something that people forget to know. People are like, oh, how did he not make it to the majors till he was like 25, 26?
Yeah.
And then now he's like 33 in the prime of his career. So like he's very late as compared to most people. Most people might come up at 22, 23, and then their prime is 27 to 29. Now he did everything 4 or 5 years later. It's a very simple reason. He didn't become a pitcher until he was a junior in college. He was a shortstop before that. So it took him much longer to progress as a pitcher. And the reason why his arm is like he's 28 at 33 is because he has that many more years on his arm. He hasn't been pitching since he was 6. He didn't start pitching until he was about 20. So he can go a lot longer than most pitchers because his arm is younger, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah. And back to the Jose Fernandez. That's a very severe example there.
Yeah.
Going off the field, what you do off the field affects you on the field. But when it comes to like performance, he really was the even if my team goes forever, but Jose Fernandez is on the mound, I'll buy tickets for my whole family to watch. That's the culture. That's how it really was. That's how it's DeGrom too.
He was single-handedly able to bring fans into whatever stadium that the Marlins play in. He was able to bring them to the game. He was able to bring them every 5 days to the game. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but as soon as he died, the last game that was really like packed out was that game that D. Gordon hit, the
home leadoff home run
for him. It was the game for Jose Fernandez. And the reason why I personally believe is because people saw him as the guy that's going to lead the Marlins back to the playoffs. Unfortunately, things happen. He dies, and the Marlins decide to tank. So, they sold out.
That Marlins team, though. That Marlins team was unbelievable.
That Marlins team was.
They had the best outfield, one of the best outfields all time. You had
Marcelo
Stanton in right, Ozuna in left, and Yelich in center.
It was insane.
Unbelievable. And they had
And
they had
what?
they
And
had
that was when
a
all
lot of
three were practically in their prime. Like that was before Yelich was in his prime, but that was when Yelich was on his way. Ozuna and Stanton were both peak at that time.
yeah.
And what people don't realize about Yelich is people think that the reason why he got good is because he left that large park in Miami and he left a shorter park. He joined a shorter park in Milwaukee, but that's probably like not even like the best case. He the reason he said he became such a greater hitter, hitting for the average, getting the on base percentage, hitting the home runs, getting the RBIs. Reason why he says this is he gives all credit to Barry Bonds, who was the hitting coach in Miami at the time.
Wow.
Barry Bonds, well, Christian Yelich said he single-handedly gives all the credit in the world to Barry Bonds for fixing his swing and giving him this monster like 2017 or 2018 year.
Wow. Really though. I didn't know that. I
Yeah.
didn't know that. I mean, guys do make adjustments. Look at Justin Turner. You know, some
Oh
guys
yeah.
just need to
Terrible
change.
with the Orioles. Terrible with
Willie
the Mets.
Adames. Yeah. You know.
Well, I don't think it was Will. It's not really the adjustments for Willie Adames that really made him a better hitter. I think he just needed a change of scenery and
That's the thing. That's what I'm saying. Guys just
The
what.
same thing with Garrett Cole. Like he had great years when he first started up in Pittsburgh, but then they tried to make him more of like an old school style pitcher, and it like
Yeah.
half worked. But when he went to the Astros and they let him do his thing, and they gave him the right people behind him in the analytics department to let him learn what would make him the best. Because obviously the Astros were spending more money. Like that's another thing. We talk about spending money on the field in terms of payroll. The Yankees, the Red Sox, they have the best analytics department. They're hiring people at multiple six figures a year to do that stuff, while people over in Pittsburgh are not. They probably have a very small department and they're paying people, who knows, maybe minimum wage to do that stuff. And like that's a
Yeah.
part of the game that's very under talked about, is who the people who work behind the scenes. And so Houston was paying top dollar for the best people that understand pitching and understand the game to show Garrett Cole and work with him on what he could do from that side of the game rather than just the actual dynamics of his arm swing and all that.
Do you believe Garrett Cole was a pirate? Garrett Cole was a pirate, dude. He was the last memorable pirate since
Andrew
Xavier
McCutcheon.
Bates, dude. Since
No, Andrew McCutcheon.
Yeah. Andrew McCutcheon was a
Clemente.
when did Andrew McCutcheon leave the Pirates? The same year as Cole?
It was around the same time.
Yeah, I know it was because Cole got traded to the Pirates in the midseason of 18, right?
Yeah, his last season with the Pirates was 17.
Okay, so he got traded
18
before
and
the-
19, he was with the Astros in 2021 with the Yankees.
Okay. Oh, so all right. So I know what I'm thinking. What I was thinking was Justin Verlander got traded halfway through the 2017 season. That's what happened.
Yeah, and yeah, I guess Andrew McCutcheon. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got to be Andrew McCutcheon. Andrew McCutcheon literally lived and breathed in the Pirates fans.
Yeah. MVP. Yeah. I'm thinking
Yeah,
Xavier.
legit MVP. His nickname is in Pittsburgh is McClutcheon.
McCutcheon. Yeah.
McClutcheon. People call him McClutcheon.
Yeah.
You ask any Pirate fan in the world, and they will go, "Oh yeah, that's McCutcheon." But you say, "What's their nickname?" Say, "It's McClutcheon."
Yeah.
You can tell who has the most lasting impact on every fan base by when someone leaves, whether because they get traded or signed somewhere else. Then they play that team on the road, and then that now there's more fans and people with the jersey of when that player was on that team.
Yeah, look at
Like,
Arenado, right?
Whenever like the All-Star game was in Colorado this year, and people were chanting
Yeah.
Arenado's name is first season not in Colorado.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Or
you
you
would
get
think he'd be happy to get out of there. Get out of
you get the examples like, for example, last year or no, I think it was 2019. The Cardinals and Angels were playing, and Albert Pujols was in Busch Stadium, and everybody knows that Albert Pujols is old, and he's at the time in 2019, people didn't know if he was going to retire in 2020 or 2021. They didn't know what the future was holding for him. So in 2019, when they saw, oh, this could be Albert Pujols' last time playing in Busch Stadium. Yeah,
Yeah.
not as a Cardinal, but he was playing as an Angel. People
Insane.
showed up in the droves. All three of those games were sold out. They had the standing room seats sold out. There were,
Wow.
you go there, you couldn't even walk anywhere without seeing a Pujols jersey, whether it was an Angel
Yeah.
jersey or a Cardinal jersey. Everywhere was a Pujols jersey. There were people that could have hated Pujols for leaving the Cardinals, and they still came in a Pujols jersey.
Well, Pujols in his prime is one of the greatest players of all time, hands down.
Yeah,
One of the greatest players of all time. He had the greatest, probably what, 7, 8 year stint. More longer than that, but the core of it, the greatest
great.
tenure in almost that I could think of than any player had of one team in the past this century. Really.
Yeah. Well, listen, guys, I don't know if you guys noticed, but we kind of
I
like totally got off topic of everything.
Yeah.
So let me just fix this a little. So we already talked about the lockout. I guess we kind of talked a little bit about free agency, not totally. So we'll just like hit the button on that for just a small little bit. Um, for the Mets side, Vinny, you can say who they signed and get the big grin of Scherzer.
Yeah. Yeah, this is my time. So you guys can turn off your mics for a while, turn off your cameras for a while, and you know what I mean. So it's been great for me. It's been a show. Listen, let me start. 2019, the Mets, 2019. I think they had a great season. I think they were phenomenal underdogs. I loved the 2019 season. They had some amazing games. James, I know you know when Sean Doolittle, I think it was Sean Doolittle, he gave up the 3-run homer to Todd Frazier, and Gary Cohen shit himself, and Conforto walked it off. That's what happened, right? I'm a Met fan. I'm not asking you to
I'm not exactly familiar,
yeah,
but I know
Todd
that Todd
Frazier.
Frazier with that bomb.
Yeah, it's out of here. It's out of here. Todd Frazier ties the game, and the whole place went berserk. And then Conforto walked it off. They ripped his shirt off and everything, right? And I think it was the same week. A day later, it may have been 2 days later, the same week. Luis Guillorme. Who the hell is Luis Guillorme? Get this guy off the field. It's his first career home run, solo home run coming off the bench. And the Mets won. I think, who was it? Rodney? It might have been off Rodney. I don't remember. But
Fernando Rodney.
Fernando Rodney. It might have been off him, but it was Luis Guillorme. Who the hell is Luis Guillorme? First ever career home run coming off the bench. He's known for his glove. He ties the game. The Mets win. It was just stuff like that, just absolutely electric. And then,
It almost gives you that sense of feeling like
yeah,
Wilmer Flores crying on the field.
yeah, I get what you're saying.
Mhm.
That it's just the emotion,
Yep.
and it was like to me, it was a great season. It was a great season. They had a lot more downs than ups. Obviously, they finished over 500, but they had Edwin Diaz had a lot of trouble that year. Right,
Yeah.
so 2019, and where this ties into free agency, I'll tell you. The season's over. Okay, we need to make some adjustments. Need to make some adjustments in the bullpen. The first thing the Mets do is go out and sign Trevor May. Right, they get Aaron Luke. Right, whatever they get. That's going into the 2021 season. Right, that's going into the 2021 season. Um, During the pandemic, the 2020 season, nothing crazy to be honest. Could care less. Rick Porcello, whatever the case may be. Robinson Cano played in 2019, got hurt. Obviously, we know Cano. And then 2021 comes along. Now Francisco
Edwin
Lindor,
Diaz.
Edwin Diaz,
Ed
Edwin
Luz
Diaz.
Diaz.
Who?
Ed Luz
Ed Luz
Diaz.
Diaz.
Ed Luz Diaz is a huge was one of the that was when the Mets hit rock bottom pretty much because he was a huge part of it. We didn't have a stable closer. We didn't have a stable bullpen whatsoever. The bullpen was just god awful. It got a lot better, I think, in my opinion, in 2021, and then 2021 comes along, and now we have Francisco Lindor. We signed Francisco Lindor. We get Taiwan Walker. I'm not familiar with Taiwan Walker. Where'd he come from? The Diamondbacks, wherever.
Yeah.
They got Taiwan Walker. The first thing the Mets go out and they do is they sign Trevor May. They sign Aaron Luke. Right, and now, not to say Francisco Lindor wasn't one of the biggest signings of the year for any team. It was huge, right? But you did have a lot of big players going to new teams for the first time in 2021, right?
Mhm.
Like now I can't think of examples. I mean, Jock Peterson. Not that that's a huge example. Nolan Arenado, right? Him too.
Yeah.
So that was San Francisco Lindor. That's huge. That's enormous to me. And after how he performed in 2021, he was only really bad for maybe the first half of the season. Defensively, he was phenomenal. Offensively, he was atrocious.
Yeah.
And the second half of the season, he came back from his injury. And to be honest, to me, if you watch the games, he was lighting it up. He was lighting it up. He brought a lot of fire. And in my
Especially
opinion,
against Stanton.
especially against the Yankees, yeah. And you're a troublemaker. You're a Red Sox fan. And I think it was. I think he had a great second half. So great signing, obviously. The money is out of this world, batshit crazy. I mean, and then this year comes along. I'm thinking we're gonna have a huge free agency because what happened in 2021, the way we just absolutely fell apart. No, doesn't cut it. Every Met fan was looking for something big.
Mm.
I personally thought that they were gonna go out and sign a pitcher, kind of like similar to Taiwan Walker, right? Taiwan Walker, not many people knew who he was. He didn't do terrible, but he never did great. He never really pitched a full long season in his career, right? He has good stuff, but he never really made it big time, especially considering he was a Diamondback. Not that they were terrible a couple of years ago, but they didn't get anywhere.
Yep.
And I'm thinking the Mets are going to acquire somebody, maybe similar to him. They're going to sign somebody, or they're going to sign somebody like another pitcher. Maybe they were going to go after
Another Marcus Stroman type.
maybe extend him, and be satisfied, and hope DeGrom stays healthy. Extend, Syndergaard, give him a qualifying offer, and they did, and he declined it, and now he's an Angel. And to me, I wasn't expecting Max Scherzer. I didn't think Scherzer would want to play in New York. I didn't think he'd want to play in New York because I don't know. He played on the Nationals for.
Well, that was his exact reason for not coming to the Yankees. So, like the Yankees wanted him last year during the trade deadline, and he had a no trade clause, and he said he would not give it up for the Yankees because he would not play for the Yankees. He ended up going to the Dodgers. But besides the point, it's obvious that it wasn't New York; it was just the Yankees.
Yeah. I mean, do you blame him? You really blame him, Andrew?
How much different is LA to the Yankees? In terms of the market.
For sure. It's harder. It's just as hard to pitch.
So it's obvious it wasn't, the pressure of the market, the pressure of the fan base. It was just he doesn't like the Yankees.
Yeah.
No real reason for it.
I think Yankee fans are taking that a little personal.
Yeah.
Well, now that he joined the Mets, originally I'm like, okay, whatever. I guess he doesn't want to join a big market team. Nope, right to the Dodgers. Okay, I guess it's just New York. Nope, it's not even New York. It's just
the Yankees.
Going to the Dodgers. I mean, come on. He lasted half a year in the Dodgers. I didn't see him really remaining on the Dodgers, but I didn't see him coming to New York either. I just didn't see him, and that was mostly because I heard from unreliable sources, obviously, that Max Scherzer didn't want to come to New York because he had a lot of history with the National League East when he was on the Nationals. That was just me, and I don't know. Some players have preferences. Some players are like that. But then you have Steve Cohen, and Steve Cohen has a lot of money, and Max Scherzer has a lot of talent. Money plus talent, and anything can happen, right? I thought the Mets were going to sign somebody else, maybe a tier or 2 tiers below Max Scherzer, because Max Scherzer is top tier. Max Scherzer is almost the DeGrom, Cole, Scherzer, guys like that. Max Bueller, he's up there. He's right up there. And I figured a tier, maybe 2 tiers below Scherzer, we'd get. But then when I saw the Mets sign Mad Max, I wasn't freaking out like every other Met fan was. But I was like, okay, maybe this is the last piece. But according to a plethora of sources now, it seems like the Mets aren't done. I don't really understand that. Everyone says we need a third baseman. We need a third baseman. I personally believe we have two decent third basemen. I'm sorry, not a third baseman. Another second baseman. We have Escobar now. We signed Escobar, which is a decent pickup, to be honest. I mean, we signed 2 outfielders. And Brandon Nimmo, I wouldn't replace him with anyone in the world as long as he stays healthy. Honest to God, I wouldn't. A good hitter, could hit to all fields. He could also hit home runs. He just doesn't do them often. He can.
It's like McNeil.
Yeah, He's like McNeil. He's similar to McNeil, but if I had to choose one, I would still choose Nimmo. I mean, the on base percentage, the defense.
Listen, the great thing about the Mets signing Starling Marte is that you don't have to worry about his unreliable defense in center field. You could finally put Nimmo in a corner outfield spot. He's almost like Michael Conforto when Michael Conforto first came up. Yoenis Cespedes didn't want to play center field, so they put Michael Conforto in center field. Michael Conforto was not good in center field.
Yeah.
He was not. They moved him to left field. He improved. Was he the best? No. Then they put him to right field, and then that's when he showed that he can use a glove to his advantage for his talent. Now, are we going to see that with Nimmo? Probably. Do I think he has the arm for right field? No, I don't think he really does. I think that he is a little on the left field side of the outfield, but you already have the unreliable Dom Smith playing left field, and his fielding and his arm is unreliable. So you have to put him in left field. So Nimmo's an automatic right fielder. Starling Marte is going to be your center fielder. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. You can't sign Starling Marte and put him in left or right.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, maybe after the lockout, the Mets sign Chris Bryant.
I was about to say, let's go back to the lockout for a quick second because it's relevant.
Yeah.
So you're talking about all this. So Dom Smith can't play left. He can't play first. You need an outfielder there, then all this and that. But there is a slight chance. Now, again, I don't even know if I want it. There's reasons for it and against, but DH in the National League, for the first time really ever, it's in considerations and it's possible. So obviously, I'm not going to say like for a specific team because it works out for them now. But for the Mets situation, or anybody who watches the National League a lot, like obviously Vinny would, who watches the Mets routinely, do you want the DH in the National League because it will solve issues like this?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm speaking not from the same side, but as just someone who watches baseball, you could see anybody would say yes to that. I mean, first of all, do I think Pete Alonso is terrible at defense and first base? No, I don't think he's terrible, but Dom Smith is a much better defensive replacement than Pete Alonso is. But the problem is, Pete Alonso, you can't put him anywhere else but first base. At least with Dom Smith, you could throw him in left. So if the DH comes, you could put Pete in DH, and then you could put Dom at first, because Dom would be a much better defensive first baseman than Pete Alonso. He always has his whole career in the minor leagues. He always has been.
Yeah.
So put Pete at first. Put Pete at DH if there's a DH. We don't know, but if there's a DH, Pete first. Pete DH, Dom first, and then Nimmo on left. And if there's a DH, Bryant in first base, right field, if you sign him.
So I'll talk about my point of view for a quick second. So obviously I don't watch National League Baseball as nearly as much as American League Baseball.
Yep.
And you don't really think about it like that because you don't say, oh, I watch a lot of AFC football versus NFC football. It's the only sport, baseball rather, where the two leagues have a different play style, a much different play style. And so because I'm used to watching the DH, it is a much cleaner game, more fluent. For the very little bit, not very little bit, but the much less National League Baseball I watch, I enjoy watching the pitchers hit because it's more of a novelty to me. But if I did watch National League Baseball day after day, I would probably get sick of it, watching the pitcher hit day after day. It's a novelty for when I do happen to turn the game on and it's like that. But I would probably get sick of it after a while if I watched it religiously and if I cared more about the outcome of each game.
Yep.
Absolutely. It gets rushed. It does. Yeah.
I mean, I talk about free agency with the Red Sox and the Yankees, but we really never got into free agency because, I mean, the best the Red Sox signed was Rich Hill. That's it.
I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, they signed Rich Hill to a 1-year deal. They also signed another player. I don't know who, but The Rich Hill deal happened like 2, 3 weeks before the lockout happened.
I don't
Um,
know. Yeah, I'm not familiar with
I
that.
don't know about the Yankees.
I like Rich Hill. He puts on
Yankees.
a clinic every time he goes out there, even if he has a bad game. Clinic.
Yeah,
He
he just
is.
eats innings. That's basically what he does. He eats innings. He'll give up runs, but he eats innings.
Yeah.
What about
Clinic.
the Yankees? Did the Yankees sign anybody?
Luis Rojas.
Nothing big in.
Yeah, they signed Luis Rojas.
Oh yeah, as their bench coach. Yeah, yeah.
No,
But I
the third
mean,
base coach.
Third base coach.
third
Yeah.
third base coach. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it was. Yeah, no, nothing really of notoriety. That's like, oh my god, like obviously you get those minor league extensions and then like the qualifying, but like there was nothing that like there was nobody new off the bat that it's like, oh, they're now on the team. That's going to change the game.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's how I
Roger.
felt with Rich Hill.
I
I mean,
figured that.
but that's only the really guy that I could think of was Rich Hill. That's really it. But
Yeah.
so honestly, like it's only the Mets that really did anything pre-lockout that made the team significantly better. And when I say significantly, I really mean significantly better. So, um, I think we kind of already, discussed how different our fan bases.
I want to ask Vinny a quick question.
Yeah.
Who is Garrett Cole a top 2 pitcher in New York?
Mm. I think you just like, yeah. You like stirring
It's
the
a
pot a
it's
little bit
it's
there.
a type thing.
Up for
You know,
grabs. It is. It's up for grabs. Um,
it really is.
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
when I made the joke in the group chat that we're in, like not our podcast group chat, but our regular group chat that we're in, when I made the joke when the Mets finally signed Max Scherzer, I was like, "Oh, Max Scherzer, how does it feel to be the number 3 pitcher in New York now?" That was kind of like a joke thrown at the Yankees way, but in reality, honestly, like I don't know. Max Scherzer is that
Yeah.
guy. Like when you hear Max Scherzer's name, you think of that guy. But you also do that with Cole. And I mean, I'm not even going to say this cuz like we're not even going to argue this. I mean, unless if Andrew wants to, but it's not even whether if Garrett Cole's number 1 or not. He's either 2 or 3. DeGrom takes the number 1 spot.
We all agree.
Yeah,
on
no,
that.
that's why I
Bro.
said is he top 2, not is he number 1?
So
Because I acknowledge DeGrom as
I'm
well.
not even gonna bring up DeGrom in the argument, but it's clearly obvious that DeGrom's 1. So it's whether if he's 2 or 3, and I'd really have to take a look at the stats, like really take a
Yeah.
deep look at the past 3 years and see who was better. But coming off of the 2021 season, with Max Scherzer getting traded to the Dodgers, he went 9 games. He pitched 9 games with them. 7 wins, no losses. He had a below 2 ERA with them.
Yeah. Just sick numbers, bro.
He was just phenomenal.
And he was striking guys out. He was pulling pitches out of his ass.
And if you ask me, before the 29, so it's basically only the 2020 and 2021 season that you really were able to see this. Garrett Cole is not a second half pitcher when you think of great pitchers. 2020, I don't know what I believe it was 2020. He kind of like didn't have a good second half. Even though it's not like it was 162 games. But wasn't it like his last like 4 starts he had like above 4 ERA?
I think 2020 is a very hard year to compare for anything because it was just very different in that regards. Like the way you condition yourself for an April start and then it being later than and then it being less games anyway. So I mean, I think 2020 is very hard because like also you had Yelich who was very 2020 was a very like odd year where certain players were great and certain players were not, just because it was very small sample size and everything was very different before and after. But I mean, in both years, yeah, he had like a stretch of like 5 starts where he was not good, and it was just game after game. He wasn't going more than 5 or 6 innings, and he was giving up 3 to 4 runs at least each start. But I wouldn't say it was a second half thing. It was just a stretch of 4 to 5 games each time. Like, Garrett Cole had a strong finish to the season. He didn't do good the one start in the playoffs, but after his stretch of bad games, which was he had a good stretch of games after that in like September. So I mean, any pitcher can have a bad stretch at any time, but I wouldn't say it's like he's a bad second half pitcher. I think that's a little bit of a bold statement.
No, I do. I agree. I agree, Andrew.
I mean, I don't know if you guys remember, but in 2017 and 2018, Garrett Cole's and no, I'm sorry, 2018 and 2019, Garrett Cole's second half was just unbelievable. Like, I don't know if you guys remember, but in the second half of the 2019 or
It was 19. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, the 2019 season, he just win after win after win after win after win, going 8 innings, 7 innings, 8 innings again, 9 innings, 8 innings, complete game, complete game, complete game. That's all he was doing in the second half of 2019. All he would do was throw complete games, throw shutouts, not get the loss, and just completely go out there and dominate the opponents in 2019 and even 2018. Not as much 2019, but he did do that in 2018. So, I mean, I guess, yeah, it's a little bit of a bold statement to say that he's not a good second half pitcher, but at least in 2020 and 2021, you kind of can take the viewpoint into consideration.
We'll see how it happens this year.
I see it as I think Scherzer had a lot more adapting to do. When he went from Washington to the Dodgers and absolutely freaked out and just flipped a switch. Not that he was pitching awfully with the Nationals, right? He wasn't pitching awfully with the Nationals.
No, he was still pitching aside.
He had a very bad start, but by the time he was traded to the Dodgers, he was already back in his old natural form.
Yep.
Yeah. So to me, that right there is just the most telling, the way he had to adapt and it didn't bother him at all. I don't think Scherzer thinks like a normal human being either. I don't even think he thinks at all. I think he just goes out there.
I don't know if you guys watch
his arm and his brain, everything just goes out there all at once, and he just performs, bro. He doesn't think about anything. Nope. I don't even know. He's a different breed. He's different.
You guys watch like baseball YouTubers like?
Were you about to talk about baseball doesn't exist?
Yep.
This
dude made that video. This dude made that video saying why Max Scherzer is legitimately the most craziest dude in baseball. And everything he said was like, why the fuck does this even guy like exist?
Yeah.
Breaks his nose, goes out his next start and throws 7 innings or 8 innings, whatever it was.
With the swollen eye, like.
And not even just one. It wasn't even just one. It was both.
Yeah.
That dude, Max Scherzer is just a different breed. Like, not even like you can't. I'm not even talking about a different breed of pitcher. He's a different breed of human.
I know. I agree. Absolutely.
Insane.
It's crazy, dude. I get his story mixed up with Josh Donaldson's and.
Oh my God, Josh Donaldson's another crazy dude.
Greinke too. They're both a little out there.
The guy did a video on all 3 of them.
Yeah, that's where I get my juice on them from. But I love all 3 of those guys. Yeah, I love all 3 of those guys. Yeah. Especially Donaldson.
Buddy, here we can like start our like a little bit of the next segment because I really want to talk about the Hall of Fame. I really want to talk about this.
That's by far the biggest topic that we have to cover.
So what I want to say is, do you guys think that it's a weird thing to say that Zach Greinke is probably done with baseball now after his 2021 season?
I don't.
No.
I don't think he'd be.
I don't mean like. All right. Let me rephrase that. I don't mean he's gonna retire. Yeah. I mean he's not gonna be the front of the line rotation guy like he once was, where he's throwing 200 innings or even 170 innings with a below 3.3 ERA. This dude in 2021 had an ERA, like I think it was like above 4. And he never, throughout 2021, had it below 4. It was always above 4.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody could have one bad season, but I agree. I don't think he's going to be a top 5 pitcher ever again. But I think he's got 2 to 3 more years of he could be like we're facing Greinke today. Oh, Greinke's pitching today. Oh, it's going to be a good game.
He has a lot of accolades under his belt.
That
Yeah,
is,
he has a nice pedigree. He does.
you guys, I don't. Have you guys seen the video that baseball doesn't exist made?
Yeah, on
Yeah, about
Greinke.
how he's a weird guy.
Well, yeah, but I think the weirdest thing about him is I think it was either the year that he won Rookie of the Year or he won Cy Young. He asked the manager to get demoted to Class A ball so he could be a shortstop.
Yes,
Yeah.
he's a good hitter. He's a good multiple silver sluggers.
Yeah.
Well,
He's
that's
hitting.
why he wouldn't want the DH in the National League if he stays in the National League because
Yeah,
he enjoys hitting.
he
Mhm.
loves hitting. I know. But I don't see him as a weird guy. I kind of want to give him a hug. Like that's how I see him.
He
I don't know.
wouldn't want to hug you.
He wouldn't want to hug me.
He wouldn't want to hug anybody.
I don't think you guys would want to hug me either. But I don't know. I don't know. We'll see.
Anyway, so I don't know about you guys. I already talked about I not talked about. I already wrote down everything about the Hall of Fame that I have, like I personally have. I wrote down all 36 players and I have who I want in the Hall of Fame. And I guess we can all like whether agree to disagree
Yeah.
of who should be in it, but at least, we have a mind of who probably will be in the Hall of Fame. Now, I definitely have I definitely without a doubt have a little bit of, I guess you could say, similarities in them where a lot of them are steroid users.
Yeah.
A lot of them but on this ballot, a lot of the players are steroid users, and you could take Ortiz's with a grain of salt. You could say he's a roid user or not. Obviously, the argument for Clemens being a steroid user is a lot stronger than Ortiz being one because Ortiz never tested positive for steroids, and it was brought out to light. Ortiz apparently in the 2004 season, I believe, I don't know if it was 3, 4, or 5, but in one of those 3 seasons, David Ortiz tested positive for PEDs. Now, it was when they were doing secret PED testing so that no one would get suspended for them. But that's why David Ortiz is at 81% of the ballot right now instead of in the high 90s. If David Ortiz doesn't have this accusation of steroids, because you only could say it's an accusation because no one knows if it's true he tested positive or not. If he doesn't have this accusation, I say Ortiz is at least in the 90s for the Hall of Fame vote. And the fact that he's in the low 80s kind of scares me because to not be in the Hall of Fame, you just need to have less than 75%. And he's only 5% higher than the need to be in the Hall of Fame.
So I'll admit, I think Ortiz should be in the Hall of Fame. I think he is one of the best players of that generation. However, he is not on my ballot simply because I don't think he's of the best 10 players that I did put. So, and I think there's 10 players that make a better case right now than Ortiz. But I think after this year, when a lot of the guys who are on their 10th year on the ballot are gone, Ortiz would definitely be on my ballot next year. Now, that's also why he's not on my ballot this year, is because it is his first year. Now, he's going to get in. I definitely think he does deserve to get in. I just think there's 10 guys who I personally have a stronger case for right now.
Well, I guess I don't know if you want to go over yours or if I start. Vinny, I don't know if you have the ballot in front of you.
I do. I don't have like a list of what I think, but I could definitely improvise because I have my opinions. I'm sure you guys know that by now.
All right,
Definitely.
Andrew, if you want to start it, you can.
Yeah. So I got Kurt Schilling.
Yep, I got him.
Barry Bonds.
I got Bonds.
Roger Clemens.
I got Clemens.
Oh God.
Wagner.
I have no, I don't have Wagner. Nope.
Sammy Sosa.
I have Sosa.
This is someone both of you would not have. but I would. I want you want. Do you guys want to guess who I got?
I'm gonna guess Teixeira.
No, so he is someone who I think should be in the Hall of Fame, but I don't think he's a top 10 of the guys on the ballot right now.
Mm-hmm.
He's a guy who I would vote with Ortiz next year.
Yeah.
Petit.
Who?
Andy Petit.
Kent.
Pettit.
Petit.
Oh, Pettit.
Pettit.
Yeah. Pettit's the
Oh.
guy. Yeah.
Petit.
Alex Rodriguez,
I have A-Rod.
Todd Helton,
Yes. King.
I don't have Todd Hull.
Gary Sheffield.
I have Gary Sheffield.
And this is so there was like 5, 6 guys who I'm like, because the problem is I don't think that other guys shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. I just think there's only 10 guys who you could pick. So
Yeah.
my last one is Bobby Abreu.
Nope.
So again, I think he should be in the Hall of Fame, but again, you could go a lot of guys in that 10th spot. I chose Bobby Abreu because he's got 400 stolen bases, almost 200 home runs, almost a 900 OPS. He's one of 7 players with 900 extra base hits and 400 stolen bases. So he was extremely versatile. He's got a Gold Glove. He was good defensively, and he's also been on the ballot for 5, 6 years now. So I just think it's his time to get in. Again, it's not that Teixeira, Vizquel, Manny Ramirez, Ortiz shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. I just think it's Bobby Abreu's time to get in. And so that's why he was like my final, like, okay, I'm going to ease him. But again, it's not, if you didn't choose Bobby Abreu, you're not like you're an idiot. Because I'm like, okay, do I really want to pick him? Okay, I simply think it's his time to get in.
Yeah. Well, so my list is basically there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6. So over half of my list has the accusations of steroids, and I mean, I'm gonna go on the honest, on like the honest side, and I know Vin's gonna look at me like I have 3 heads.
Mine has 4. So I'm assuming the 2 different are the 2 Red Sox that you have. We talked about Ortiz. I can probably guess who the other one is, but I'll let you say it.
Yeah. So I have Bonds, Ortiz, and let me emphasize this. It's not in any particular order of who I believe deserves it first. This is who I wrote down, like coming off the like top of my mind. And if I had to change them, I'd cross them off. But so I wrote down Bonds, Ortiz, A-Rod, Ramirez, Schilling, Sosa, Clemens, Kent, Teixeira, and Sheffield. That's who I wrote down. I'm gonna go. I don't want to say this, and I want Vinny to give his very honest reaction when I say this. I don't think Clemens took steroids.
All right.
I don't think he did. And not many people are going to agree with me on this, but not many people know about this interesting fact that I found out about. But Clemens actually took his steroid case to the Supreme Court and won. People like said that he took steroids, but he took it to the Supreme Court and won his case and said that there's no evidence of any steroid usage. There was none. So, I mean, depending on how you guys look at it, but I take it as he proved his case that there was none. Not many people do that. Like, for example, A-Rod, I mean, he kind of couldn't in his case, but he didn't even try to, like, deny the fact. He just simply said, yeah, I took it. Ryan Braun, yeah, he denied it at first.
Oh, wow, that's a different
Then he
story.
came out and he openly admitted to it.
The thing about A-Rod is the problem wasn't just that he took steroids. No, he did try and deny it, but he went a little too far. Like, he didn't go with correct. He tried to hide evidence and he tried to sue the MLB and sue the Yankees. And then the reason he ended up stopping it is because obviously he wanted to work with like ESPN and Fox Sports after that. So that's why he chose to like cut himself loose, take the consequences, and just move on. But
Yeah.
no, like he also had like those. He hired those private investigators to, because he wasn't just involved with taking steroids. He was involved in hiding like a building for medical use to make his steroids in like the basement. So it's like there was a lot more than just he took steroids. So I that's why he kind of had a lot more of a problem trying to deny it because there was a lot more against him than just taking steroids. Like he was doing a lot
Definitely,
of criminal
yeah,
acts as well.
definitely. Just about everyone's least favorite, not only on the ballot, but in the last
Yeah,
couple
I mean,
decades.
I think Alex Rodriguez, if everybody was just
That's
like,
still one of my favorite players all time.
if everybody was
Of
just
course, he is,
listen,
Andrew.
listen, if everybody was just unequally
Yeah.
like or like equally unbiased, if everybody was just equally unbiased, like for me, example, a Red Sox fan, I hate Alex Rodriguez. I hate him. I can't stand Alex Rodriguez. But as a Yankee fan, you love Alex Rodriguez. Now, I'm not going to use this might be a better example, but not many Yankee fans like Manny Ramirez. A lot of Yankee fans hate Manny Ramirez.
Well, he should be in the
I
same
hate
category as A-Rod, right?
I hate Alex Rodriguez.
Yeah.
Many Yankee fans don't hate David Ortiz. I don't hate Derek Jeter. So those prime examples where you can respect the other team's big name player, but then there's other big name players that you can't respect. Like for me, the thing that cut it was when Alex Rodriguez slapped the ball when he was running to first. I think you guys both know what I'm talking about, and it made Derek Jeter score. And Jeter had to go all the way back to second because they said that he smacked the ball. And then
Yeah.
he was at second base and he tried pleading his case, saying that it was his running
Just
style.
listen, just a loudmouth and
Yeah,
egomaniac,
it's just
and
that's what pleaded my that's what really put my case as to why I don't like A Rod. But
he's not likable. He's just not likable.
I
but
fuck with it.
but here's the thing. Here's the thing. I'm the
Dirty,
same thing with Manny
dirty.
Ramirez. I love Manny Ramirez, but he was a hothead and he caused a lot of
There's a
trouble.
reason for that too.
Yeah, there is a lot of reason for that. The steroids.
Just like Clemens, bro. I mean,
But no, but here's the thing.
Casey. Maybe he's just a lunatic. Maybe he's just a
He
freaking.
might be a Max Scherzer.
Maybe he's just a madman. Yeah, he
A
might
Mad
be.
Max.
Listen,
Listen,
it's different
do
for
I think
pitchers. It can make you throw a little harder, but it can't make you paint the corners, and it can't add a couple of some extra spin on your curveball. You know what I mean?
I know. Yep.
Like that's what I've heard talk about Greg Maddux, right? And Greg Maddux is one of the like a top 10 all time pitcher. I don't even think it's debatable. Greg Maddux
Yep.
is phenomenal.
Such an amazing pitcher.
He's wonderful. I think he's great, and his defense. I've seen him do some cool stuff. A lot of comebackers. He always put his pitches right where he wanted them, and then even said it.
And he got pissed off because this one time in the playoffs, he left a curveball down the middle of the zone. And when he got to the dugout, I don't remember exactly what year it was, but when he left the field to go into the dugout because the end of the inning was finally over, it was one run he gave up in three postseason pitching appearances that year. One run. He walked. It's apparent. It's because the camera didn't catch it because he walked like straight into like the clubhouse like tunnel.
Yeah.
Apparently he did that, and he took someone's bat out of there and he just started whacking it against the brick wall that was there because he gave up a run.
Yeah.
That was a dude that took his
Is there a
pitching.
reason for that too?
Who knows? But I mean, that's a little different. I think getting mad at yourself over your mistakes isn't roid rage. But when, Mike Piazza
No.
when Mike Piazza hits a ball and the bat breaks and the barrel goes towards you and you throw it at him, that's a
You
case
throw
of
it back at him. You're not. That's you being an asshole in every way possible.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
that's probably roid rage. There's
Listen,
no
I
explanation.
don't like
for it.
Clemens.
There's no explanation for it. He's one of my least. That's one of my least favorite players of all time.
I don't like
One of my
Clemens
least favorite
as a
players of all time.
human being. I don't like Roger Clemens as a human being. But I will, for his career's sake, respect the fact that he went to a court and proved himself correct that there was no steroid evidence. So as long as that happens, as long as there's no evidence of roid usage, then I can't say that the dude belongs out of the Hall of Fame for it, and I can't say that the dude took it.
I agree with there. So
Well,
I mean, obviously, I definitely did think he took steroids. Just because there was no evidence that he didn't doesn't mean he didn't. But no, either way, I do have him voted in. I think he is one of the best all time. He's second, second or third all time in strikeouts. I mean, he was just electric year after year up until his 40s. So I think that he makes enough of a case to get voted in as a top tier Hall of Famer.
so so no Vizquel.
So
Why not?
I was gonna say, like, what
I
do we
don't
think
even
about
think.
someone like Omar Vizquel? Now, he's got like almost 10 gold gloves, a lot of stolen bases, I think over 400 as well. But I, I think he could be a Hall of Famer, but he's got 2,877 hits. So outside of like Pete Rose, he's got like the most hits out of anybody not in the Hall of Fame practically. So I definitely think he could be voted in, but at the end of the day, his OPS is 688, which is god tier atrocious.
His
Like that's an
OPS
atrocity.
his OPS plus is below 100.
No, but different players have different roles. Different players. I think you should be able to step to put in the Hall of Fame based purely off your defense. Because if you are strong up the middle, you're a good team. You're a good defensive team, right? And a shortstop defensively is the most important position on the field.
Yeah, but you know what? There's an issue with that argument. Yeah, you
But
know what?
anybody can make the routine play.
Yeah.
It's like at
It,
this day and
like,
age,
listen, Omar Vizquel, when he played, the routine play, no, not even the routine play, the crazy, Derek Jeter jump throw is now like practically the routine play for collegiate level shortstops. College level shortstops in their freshman year should be making these jumping throw plays like it's nothing. So for someone to make the argument that Omar Vizquel has all these golden gloves and he's so good defensively, but his offense was always consistently or at least almost always consistently below par, that's not the best argument. You can almost take it into consideration better for him to be a Hall of Famer if his offense was above par, if it was above average. But
yeah. So
because his offense was below average and his defense is now basically the routine play for any shortstop in not major league play, it's kind of he's not a Hall of Famer. I don't think he's a
I
Hall.
I think if there weren't over 10 people better on the ballot, he could be voted in. Like I would always mostly vote for 10 guys,
Yeah.
unless there was clearly not 10 guys who were Hall of Fame caliber.
Yep.
Now he is on my list of the guys who I was considering, but a 688 OPS is atrocious. To give him credit, he did almost have 3,000 hits, but it's because he played such a long time. And
Mhm.
that's also why he had like 10 gold gloves. Now, to sustain a shortstop position for that long, again, he did a lot of impressive things, but just a 688 OPS, I look at that number and I'm like, there's no way.
I mean, well, of course, if you're going to compare somebody like the greatest defensive shortstop, one of the greatest defensive players of all time, like Ozzie Smith, to Omar Vizquel, I mean, the bar is very high, right? Because clearly Ozzie Smith has a place in the Hall of Fame, and that is one of the best defensive player of all time. Maybe the best
Ozzie
defensive
Smith,
shortstop of all time.
he's definitely the best defensive shortstop of all time. If you want to say the best defensive player of all time, I mean, I'm sure there's arguments for other people at the top of my head right now.
I mean, Brooks Robinson had 16 gold gloves, I think.
Yeah,
Third base for the Orioles.
at the top of my head, like I mean, he was able to name Brooks Robinson. I can't really name anybody off the top of my head at like the very moment right now.
I guess it also goes
But
by position. If
Willie
you ask.
Mays.
Yeah,
I,
you
I
can't
would say Willie
compare.
Mays.
yeah,
Like,
I mean, even Willie Mays, like the fact that I couldn't even say him
He's
off the
by
top.
far the best defensive outfielder of all time.
Yeah,
but you also can't compare um, the best defensive first baseman to the best defensive center fielder.
oh yeah, without a doubt, because center field's a much more harder defensive position than
Yeah.
first base.
Oh, don't discount first base because they're
No,
involved outside of pitcher and catcher. They're involved on the most plays. So,
I
granted, the plays they make aren't as hard, but I played first base once in my career. Obviously, I'm not comparing myself to any first baseman, but my back killed me the next day just because the position you're in the entire game, the way the way your body's angled to how you have to make the catches, it's very like not routine to like the average person. And so to play
Yeah.
first base is a lot harder than people think it is. And to play and it is seen as like the easiest position, but like it probably is in terms of the difficulty, but in terms of the longevity of it and how much you have to be on your feet on every play to await either a throw from the catcher or a throw from the infielder or a cutoff throw from the outfield. There's so many different variations going to first base than just catching the ball.
And that's completely like understandable, and I know where you're coming from because when I did play baseball, I didn't just play third base. I wasn't strictly a third baseman because there were people bouncing around all over the place on my team. My team was not stable. I mean, that's one of the reasons why my team completely sucked.
Yeah.
But the I've played first base. I was mainly third and catcher, but I played first base. I'd say maybe about 6 or 7 times in my life. I was mainly third and catcher.
Well, first base is probably the closest position to both third and catcher.
Yeah.
So that would make sense.
So when I played first, was I a much better defensive player? I think. But would I want to be at first base? No. I mean, first base is boring. So mentality wise, I'd say it's also very, very, very demanding. It's like the outfield too. Imagine sitting there with like all spaced out and not like doing anything. Like that's just you have to like have a strong mentality to just like know that you're playing a game that's going on. So the fact that you're standing like just there and not doing anything, yeah, you have more people closer to you to talk to, unlike the outfield. But sitting there at first base, those 6 or 7 times I did, I was bored out of my mind. Seriously, I was bored out of my mind. Third base and like playing third base and catcher, like especially catcher, when you could just I mean, not anymore because there's the limit now, but at catcher, if you want to call a timeout real quick to go talk to your pitcher, you can do that. Or better yet, if the umpire behind you is friendly, you can have a full conversation the whole game. I can't count how many times I'd be behind home plate and I knew every single catcher in my league that did all the catching, did all the umping. I there was 5 different umpires, and I mean I can't name all of them now. I could barely name kindergarten teachers that I had before, but I used to be like, oh, this guy's behind the dish. All right, I know how the game's gonna go. Do I have to bring the pitches in or do I have to keep them out? Like, does he favor a righty over a lefty? Does he favor high calls over low calls? I knew what was going down. So at least catcher, it would keep me busy somewhat and keep my mentality going. But standing at first base or standing in outfield, so boring. It really is. And it's something that mentally wise you're strong in, but you're in terms of your actual play, it's one of the weaker sides of the field.
I wouldn't know. I was a second baseman for most of my life. I was a pitcher. When I wasn't pitching, I was playing second. Once in a while, I did have me at first, and I could also play the outfield pretty decently. I think it's more important that you have a better feel of the game. You have a better feel. You know exactly where your cutoff man is going to be when you get the ball. I'm talking little league terminology. I'm talking little league mentality. You know exactly where your cutoff man is going to be when you get the ball. You know exactly when you're playing second base. Oh, this is a lefty. Okay, I cover second on the throwdown. It's a righty. Shortstop covers second on the throwdown. It's different mentalities for different positions. I do understand that. Yeah. I think the game has changed so much too. I mean, nowadays you have when you think of Gold Glove shortstops, you could probably list 8 guys. Not 8.
Andrelton Simmons is the first that comes to my mind.
Yeah. I mean, and if you're not listing Simmons, you're listing Lindor.
Simmons is the best defensive player in the world right now. In the world. To me, Simmons there's no one better than him at shortstop. But
currently,
absolutely no. Currently, yeah, but I mean,
Simmons is the best defensively, but Lindor is the best overall shortstop when you take hitting obviously into account.
Yeah, of course. King. Yeah,
I mean,
and
unless if you're talking honestly,
Owens,
after this season, because Lindor has been dropping off season after season. So it's
yeah,
not like a random like, oh yeah, this year he just randomly dropped off. No. It's been since his rookie year, it's just been going on a slower downhill. As if you take someone like Correa, it's just been going up, a slight down, up. So honestly,
rough.
I don't think Lindor is better than Correa. I don't think. And whatever team signs Carlos Correa, that instantly makes them like so that much better. Like that much better. They become like unless if you're like a team like unless if you're a team like the Orioles that signs Carlos Correa, you're not really doing anything. But for the Yankees, they need that shortstop. If the Yankees sign Carlos Correa, I honestly put them almost in that like division winning team. I still think that the Rays are much better than the Yankees and the Red Sox and even the Blue Jays because the Blue Jays are contenders now. But you have someone like Carlos Correa where he just had basically his best season as an offensive player and he just won a platinum glove. That's something that you don't take lightly and he's doing this day in and day out almost every single season now. So when I think of a better overall player at shortstop, I don't think of Lindor anymore. I think that kind of goes to Carlos Correa now.
And out of every player we mentioned, I'd rather have all of them over Omar Vizquel.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of why it's also like, damn, is Vizquel really a Hall of Famer when we're talking,
No.
top tier current players who maybe not, probably not anywhere near Hall of Famers, possibly too early to tell yet. But it's like, yeah, as of right now in their prime, I'd rather them over Vizquel on my team. But it's again, I think Vizquel has a lot of accolades. 10 Gold Gloves, almost 3,000 hits. That's like that benchmark. But it's just I look at 688 OPS, and there's just no way for me. But going back to like currently, obviously if I'm the Yankees, I would like to sign Correa, but it's like I really don't think we need him because I think there is a lot of publicity aspect to it too. It's like after everything he did with the Astros and after how much the Yankee fans shitted on him, now they want him. And then we still have Gleyber Torres, and he still never fully lived up to expectations, but I still have high hopes for him. And he is a fan favorite in the clubhouse, and he is, outside of when he struggles, which is the same with anybody who struggles on the Yankees, he's still kind of like a fan favorite on the Yankees. He has that flair. He has that spark similar to what Lindor has. But it's just a matter of, I think the Yankees would be fine with Torres at short over Correa. And I think even with Correa, it kind of complicates the situation unless we trade Torres, because now we have two very good shortstops. Obviously, Correa would be number one, but it's like Torres is kind of too good of a player to be on the bench, or not. Torres. He's kind of too good of a player to be on the bench, in my opinion. And he is still kind of like one of those guys who is kind of a leader in that clubhouse, who is supposed to be an everyday player. So I don't think it's a matter of Yankees life or death Correa or not. But I also think take Bregman into account. He's going to be the shortstop now. He was an actual shortstop.
Yep.
He never played third until like a week before he got called up to the majors. Because obviously Correa was a shortstop at that time. Bregman was a shortstop his entire high school, college, minors, up until literally like 7 days before. He played third base for like a week and then went to the majors.
Uh-huh.
And whenever Correa was either injured or sat out for a day, Bregman was a shortstop.
Yep.
So I think Bregman will be almost in that conversation of top tier shortstops by next year once he becomes an everyday shortstop.
Unless if the fact that his just like constant like third base role since 2017 has kind of taken a toll on his I guess say range as a shortstop would typically have. Unless if him playing third has changed his range, I would not disagree with that. But at him being a young age, I wouldn't say that his range has disappeared because at such a young age that really does.
Now, outside of Arenado, he has the best range of any third baseman.
Oh yeah, Aaron, and you know what?
Arenado's a top
Arenado's
defensive third baseman ever.
Arenado's like defense is just like that's.
He's won the Gold Glove every year of his career.
Yeah, and he's won
Platinum Glove like 3 times.
Yeah, I believe it's 2.
But he's won Gold Glove every year of his career from 2013 out. He has never not won Gold Glove.
He's almost like He's
Now,
almost like,
2019 was debatable because Anthony Rendon had like half the amount of errors of him that year, but it was kind of just like Arenado wins Gold Glove, so he's going to win Gold Glove. But
yeah.
outside of 2019, there was never a question of who's going to win it.
But if you look, I mean, I never really noticed that. I didn't really pay attention to the Gold Glove. I mean, it's weird because like I was never the best hitter in baseball, but I was always a great fielder, I'd say. So when I played third base, like it was always fun. So I kind of pay attention to like Gold Glove, but not really that much. I never realized that Anthony Rendon had like half the errors as Arenado,
It
but
was
like,
1 year. It was like one.
well,
That
yeah,
was the year Anthony Rendon. So Arenado has won Silver Slugger every single year of his career except 2019. That was Anthony Rendon's like that was his like god tier year when
yeah,
he was always a good player, but that was his year. And like then he kind of came back to reality after that. But outside of 2019, there was never a year where Arenado was not by far the best offensive and defensive third baseman in the NL and the MLB, probably overall.
yeah. I think that's when people really started taking Arenado like seriously as like a good player. Like everybody knew how good he was, and when he was a national, he some like I don't know if you guys knew this, but he actually played a lot of second base.
Rendon, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, Rendon played a lot of second base. So in 2019, when he was playing third base and he had that seriously good year, that's when everybody started realizing, oh, he's gonna get that contract. He's gonna be this third baseman.
yeah. That was his free agent year also.
Unfortunately, I mean, he's injured. I think he's coming back next season, but I'm not sure. I don't know what the injury was, but he got injured, and unfortunately, that stuff happens. But that's baseball, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, I think this was a really good first episode. I mean, I really appreciate you guys joining me with this. I mean, you guys just randomly got the call one night to like do this with me, and I appreciate you guys doing it. I can't wait to do more episodes with you guys. If you guys want to say one last thing before, we kind of just end it for the episode and wait for the next one to start up, you guys can go. Andrew, you can go first.
Yeah, I'm definitely very excited to continue doing this the rest of the way. We have, right now we have no idea what happens with the baseball season, so this is just kind of some content to kind of like fill that void. Even if you watch the MLB Network now, all they're doing is playing old games and highlights. There is really nothing to talk about. So trying to give like an extra edge of a different perception of things, and we can do a little bit of talking about some history and some little fun facts and stuff. But overall, we're going to try our best to fill the void of what's not happening with stuff that could be happening. And so we barely got to half the topics we wanted to talk about today.
Yeah.
There's still a lot to talk about with the Hall of Fame. Obviously, later this month is when all the results are going to come out. We can debate what we talked about today to what the results are going to be and what we
Yep.
thought and then kind of what this ballot will lead to future years. But outside of that, I think there's a lot of potential for everything that we're doing and everything the rest of the way.
I absolutely agree. Vinny?
There's when it comes to baseball, I always have something to say. Considering all three of us, I mean, I assume you guys have been watching baseball since you were very, very young. I mean, all three of us, we've watched probably 40 something years of baseball between us.
Yeah.
Probably 50 something years of baseball between us, and we're still very young too. So I love the sport so much, and I can really talk about it for hours on here. And if I knew I had people that would listen to me speak, I'd never stop. So thank you, bro, and thank you guys both. You're good company, and you're it's always great talking to you guys, especially about something like this, something that I love very much, and that we can disagree with, agree with, and everything. And on the sport, just something that we adore, and it's great to spend time really dissecting things that other people don't really have the will to dissect with me. So I appreciate it greatly, and I'm very excited as well.
Well, you know what? Like I said, I appreciate you guys joining me on this. Hopefully, this just keeps adding on more and more and more, and we could just continue to get episode after episode, and we don't have to, just completely end it. Hopefully, people will listen to us and, take a, take a stance on how things should be done, listen to us, and just appreciate what we will be doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, that's the end of the first episode. You guys can follow me on, I only really use Instagram, jcorbett.201. Um, all the other links of our Instagrams would be in the description of the channel if you guys want to check that out. Obviously, when we get future videos up, we're gonna start making other social media accounts. We're gonna start with an Instagram, and that will also be in the description of the channel. Andrew's gonna mainly be in charge of the social medias, and as soon as we get our social medias up, we'll all, kind of like put it out there. And Andrew, who was the friend that is making the logo?
Anthony. Yep.
All right. I want to just add a big thanks to Anthony for making our logo. All right.
Yeah.
I'll
Thank you.
talk to you guys in the next episode.
Go Mets.
Yeah.
Good.
Go Red Sox.